Hey everyone! Ever stop to think about the invisible rules that run our world? We're talking about force and motion. These are the laws that explain everything from why a rocket roars into the sky, to how your car brakes, to why a football flies in that perfect spiral. Let's jump right in. All right, let's kick things off with a real head scratcher. You drop your keys, right? They fall straight down, clink. But then you look up at the moon. It's also falling toward the Earth, constantly. So why doesn't it ever hit us? How can it just keep falling around us forever? The answer to this is just one of the most brilliant ideas anyone's ever had.
And that idea came from Sir Isaac Newton. It's called universal gravitation. He realized that the force pulling your keys down to the floor is the exact same force that's tugging on the moon, holding it in orbit. I mean, think about that. He connected the heavens and the earth with one single beautiful rule.
So here's the trick. An orbit is really just falling, but it's falling with style. The moon is falling towards us, but it's also moving sideways so incredibly fast that by the time it falls, the Earth has already curved away from underneath it. It's just constantly falling and missing the ground. It's a truly wild concept when you really think about it. And this all leads to one of gravity's weirdest rules. Here on Earth, if you drop a bowling ball and a feather, the ball hits first. Obviously, that's because of air resistance. But what if you get rid of the air? Well, on the moon, Apollo astronaut David Scott did just that. He held out a hammer and a feather, and he dropped them. And they hit the ground at the exact same time. That's pure gravity with nothing getting in the way. Incredible. Okay, so let's move on to our next big idea. We're talking about inertia now. And honestly, you can just think of it as physics's law of laziness. It's the reason why objects, whether it's a tiny pebble or a giant train, kind of just want to keep doing whatever they're already doing. You know, for centuries, people thought that to keep something moving, you had to keep pushing it. It seems obvious, right? But Galileo and Newton completely flipped that idea on its head. They figured out that no, a push, a force, is only needed to change an object's motion, to speed it up, to slow it down, or to make it turn. This resistance to change, that's inertia. And this whole idea is wrapped up in probably the most famous equation in all of physics, F equals ma. Don't worry about the letters, the idea is really simple. It's the recipe for inertia. The more mass something has, that's the m, the more force, that's F, you need to make it accelerate, or change its motion, that's the A. Simple as that. And if you want to see this in action, I mean really see it, just look at a freight train. It has so much mass, which means it has a ridiculous amount of inertia. Once that thing is moving, it really wants to stay moving. That's why even with all its braking power, it can take over a mile to grind to a halt. That's inertia for you. Okay, so inertia is a huge deal. But what happens when that motion has to stop? Like right now. Let's dive into the physics of an impact and see how these laws are quite literally saving lives every single day. So here's the problem in any car crash. The car stops, but your body doesn't. Your inertia keeps you moving forward. We call this momentum. It's just your mass in motion. When the car suddenly stops, all of your momentum has to go from 60 miles an hour to 0 in a fraction of a second. And that is an incredibly violent event. But physics has a solution for this. It's a concept called impulse. See, to get that momentum down to 0, you really have a choice. You can use a huge, dangerous force over a super short time, or you can use a much smaller, survivable force stretched out over a slightly longer time. And that choice, that trade-off, is the secret behind every modern safety feature in your car. And this chart shows you exactly how that works. Without an airbag, the time you have to stop is tiny, which means the force on your body is enormous. That's that first bar. But an airbag does this one beautiful, simple thing. It increases the amount of time it takes for your body to stop. By stretching out that time, even by just milliseconds, it drastically cuts down the force you feel. And that's the second bar. It's all about spreading out that impact. All right, so far we've been talking about things moving in more or less straight lines. But what about when things go in circles? Let's look at our final big idea, the incredible, almost magical stability that comes from spin. I mean, think about it. It's everywhere. Why does a quarterback throw a spiral? The spin keeps the football flying straight and true. Why does a rifle barrel have those grooves, that rifling? To make the bullet spin and stabilize it. It's even why you can balance on a bicycle when it's moving, but it's impossible when you're stopped. It's even used in gyroscopes to keep airplanes and spacecraft pointed in the right direction.
So, what's the physics behind all this? It's a principle called angular momentum. And really, you can just think of it as inertia, but for spinning things. Just like a train wants to keep moving straight, a spinning football wants to keep spinning around the same axis. The more angular momentum it has, the harder it is to knock it off course. And that resistance, that's what we see as stability.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, it's pretty amazing. Just a handful of simple rules shape our entire world, from the rockets that punch through our atmosphere to the airbags that cushion us in a crash. So let's just quickly recap the 4 universal rules we've covered. Number 1, universal gravitation, the cosmic glue that pulls everything together. 2, inertia, that law of laziness that resists any change in motion. 3, impulse, the trade-off between force and time that keeps us safe in a collision. And 4, angular momentum, the magic of spin that creates stability. And that brings us to one last thought. These laws are so simple, so elegant, and they work everywhere. They govern a football spiraling on a Sunday afternoon, and they govern the motions of entire galaxies billions of light years away, which kind of makes you wonder, if these basic rules explain so much, what other universal rules are still out there, just waiting for us to figure them out? Thanks for joining me.